Welcome to EntreProgrammers Podcast, the podcast for developreneurs, with your hosts, Josh Earl, Derick Bailey, and John Sonmez, the podcast where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of three developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
Hey, Josh Earl here with a quick message from our sponsor, Signal Leaf. Look, doing a podcast is a lot of work. The last thing you need is a podcast hosting service that makes you jump through a bunch of hoops just to get your episodes published. My co-host Derick created Signal Leaf with one goal in mind: to build the easiest podcast hosting service out there. It's the simplest way to get your new podcast up and running quickly and without any hassle. If you're thinking of starting your own podcast, just use Signal Leaf. Then you can get back to polishing the lyrics for your own official podcast rap song.
And I guess Josh, I sent an invite, so I guess he'll just join whenever he said he was driving through traffic. So
you're the one in a hurricane, and Josh doesn't show up.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we still got one more coming towards us, but I don't think it'll hit. Well, the first hurricane hit Hawaii last night, and then It pretty much broke up on the Big Island. Like the big mountains on the Big Island pretty much destroyed the hurricane. So it was pretty pathetic, actually. The Weather Channel's like showing like a palm frond, like blowing across the street. They're like, and some trees have fallen. So they tried to make the big thing, but it's pretty. I think it is pretty crazy though that I leave Florida and go to Hawaii and then there's hurricanes.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Hawaii hasn't been hit by a hurricane in like 20 years, like a real hurricane. And I guess it still didn't, because by the time right when it hit landfall, it was a tropical storm. So
right.
But yeah, there's still one more out there that's like a Category 2 or Category 3 that's coming, Julio, but they think it's going to go north of us. So.
Okay. Which island are you on?
On Maui.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been to Oahu a couple of times. My wife has family in Honolulu.
Okay.
But I've not been anywhere else. I'd like to go to some of the other islands. Oahu and Honolulu are basically, I mean, it's nice being in Hawaii, but it's just another city and just another place. It's not really all that special. You got to get out of Honolulu especially, but really get onto the other islands like you're on in order to get to the real Hawaii that everybody wants to see.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I lived on Oahu for 4 years for high school.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, there's certain places on Oahu, but since being here on Maui, it's definitely different. Like it's a lot more nature, like everywhere around, a lot less people, so pretty cool. And a lot more hurricanes now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my week. That's my crazy.
That's John getting blown away by hurricanes and palm trees.
What about you? What's going on with you?
I am currently wondering if I am doing the right things with my career. It's been one of those weeks.
Yep.
It's I don't even know where to start. I mean, I guess with Watch Me Code, I've got a lot of episodes already recorded and edited and everything and ready to go. So it's not taken a whole lot of effort for me to continue to just put the episodes out there and talk about them on Twitter and whatnot, and that's fine. I don't have any issues continuing doing that right now. But revenue was down for the month of July, and my subscriber base is also down somewhat. In May and June, I was gaining around 2 subscribers a day, and in July, I think I gained a total of 20 subscribers, but I lost about 30. So revenue is down, subscribers are down. It's kind of bumming me out there. I'm trying to pick that up again by getting back onto my Twitter advertisements. I'm actually wondering if some of my previous efforts to get subscribers through my five steps to master JavaScript this was actually working, even though I wasn't seeing the numbers the way that I thought I should be seeing them. So I started up the Twitter ads again since they came out with this new feature or they updated the way that they track things on Twitter ads so that you only pay for the things that you are actively trying to get. So in my case, I'm trying to get leads off of the Twitter lead generation cards. So I started up my ads again with my lead generation cards advertising the Mastering This email course. And I've had some pretty good success, already. I've had like 40 people sign up for it just in the last, yesterday and today. Actually, it's probably more than that by now. I haven't checked in 5 or 6 hours. So I've had quite a few people sign up for that already. And I took some of what Josh was talking about a long time ago with the very last email in that course, the one where I'm offering the discount code to people. And I took some of Josh's advice on the subject line as well as the actual content of that email to make it a little more direct, a little more, here's what you've done, now you can do these things that are awesome, and go here to continue learning more about JavaScript and all of its ins and outs and whatnot. So hopefully I'll start seeing a little better conversion on people that are signing up for that course and start gaining some more Watch Me Code subscribers from that. Otherwise, I'll let this ride out through the end of the content that I've already recorded and see what I need to do from there in terms of new content, subscribers, growing subscribers again, and whatnot. I've had some feedback on that in the last couple of weeks. Some of the people, whenever you unsubscribe, I send you an email basically saying, hey, sorry to see you go. Let me know why you decided to unsubscribe. And it gets a pretty good return on that email. I think of the people that have unsubscribed, probably 20 or 30% of those people will respond to that email and let me know why. And for the most part, the people say things like, oh, I'm cutting down on monthly expenses right now, and some people, I've had some people say, oh, I got called back to active duty for the military, so I'm dropping everything. I've had people say, oh, I just, it wasn't the right level of content for me. I was looking for more something super advanced or more something super beginner, and I'm kind of in that middle layer, which is very directly what I'm targeting, is that middle ground of people that are already doing JavaScript but really need to get to the advanced stages. I'm not covering the advanced stuff yet, and I'm definitely not covering introductory material. But then there's been a couple of people that have had some very direct feedback, like, well, your content just wasn't that unique compared to what's out there. You're kind of covering the same material as everyone else. It would be better to have more of a focus on some frameworks, whether it's Backbone and Marionette or Angular or Sails or whatever it would be. Have some more direct and focused content on some frameworks and some process and some tools, and building actual applications instead of just introducing the ideas in the frameworks and the tools to really get people deeper into a given subject area instead of the intro level of the individual frameworks and tools that I've been showing. So that's definitely good feedback. That's stuff that I should be doing more of, because even this testing with Jasmine series that I just finished, it's a very broad overview of testing with Jasmine. It doesn't really get into the depths of here's a good TDD workflow and here's how you go through building an application test first. This is like, okay, here's the tools, here's how you use the tools, here's how you do this kind of testing with the tools. I mean, all of that stuff is definitely necessary. I can't do the in-depth flow of an application without having that kind of intro material available as well.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So there's been some good feedback there and good things for me to think about. I'm kind of in a wait-and-see mentality with it right now. Since I do have so much material already recorded and edited, I'm just going to continue as is for now and see where things are when I come out at the tail end of that stuff. In the meantime, though, I'm working on my backbone screencasts for Pragmatic Programmers, which I should have done. I should have had this application built a month ago so that I could actually be writing the real content. But with the craziness that has been going on with everything, I haven't taken the time to do it. So I'm finally getting around to that, building the actual application. I'm building like the end state right now. This is what it's going to be when it's all said and done, and then I have to go and go backwards from there to create the individual steps, where you're starting to get to where it's going. So that's a little bit crazy and takes a lot of work, and I'm still working on the end state to get that done. So I'm going to be doing a lot of work with screencasts throughout the rest of the year, basically, and I'm wondering at this point if that's the best use of my time versus Signal Leaf, which is also the other thing that I'm wondering about. It's the thing that I continuously talk about and complain about and wonder about and never really put in the time and effort to do. I mean, I've put in some time for it recently with that podcast, that very large podcast that left Signal Leaf, with me asking them to go somewhere else since they were costing me so much money. So I have put some time into it. I added the feature that allowed them to redirect their RSS feed, and I looked at my stats for that over the last couple of days, and I watched. It was really interesting to see how quickly all of their subscribers were transferred over to their new hosting service. So iTunes and mobile apps and all of these other apps out there that are subscribing to the podcast apparently do a really good job of keeping track of redirects and just automatic and knowing, okay, I got this redirect and it was a permanent redirect, so I'm just going to go over here all the time now. Because one day I had 9,000 subscribers, the next day I had 1,900, and then the day after that was 150, and then 0. So I mean, it's just tanked from having 9,000 subscribers to hardly having any subscribers on the RSS feed for that podcast hitting Signal Leaf. Just they all transferred over to the new service really, really rapidly. So that's good for me in that it's going to save me quite a bit of money. I'm not going to be spending $700 a month, $600 a month on their podcast. But it's also allowed me to have some time to think about the current state of Signal Leaf and the things that I really want to do with it versus the amount of time that I've actually been able to put into it. And I'm pretty fond of saying that priorities are the things that you actually do, not the things that you talk about.
Right.
And if you look at the things that I'm actually doing, it's very obvious that Signal Leaf has not been a priority. And it's becoming a question of whether or not Signal Leaf should be a priority. I've got this contract with Pragmatic Programmers, which needs to be a priority.
Yeah.
I've got my client work with real deadlines, which needs to be a priority. Where does Signal Leaf fit in with all of this? Do I drop other things that I have been doing, miscellaneous things here and there? Do I, go 50-50 between the screencasts and Signal Leaf, or do I consider actually dropping Signal Leaf?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I think part of the problem is, like, as I'm discovering as well, is that you, as you know, as an entrepreneur, you can't do necessarily what you want to do. You have to, like, you have to do all the marketing and all the other stuff. It's not really as much fun as writing the code or building the thing, because if you build the thing and then you don't have the marketing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, my dad, when I was home in Kansas, I was talking to my dad about this 2 weeks ago, and he said very directly, bad marketing for a great product, other way around, good marketing for a bad product will always be bad marketing for a good product.
yes.
So it is absolutely the marketing that determines whether or not you're going to be selling this stuff. And once you have the marketing in place, then, you know, a good product is going to be essential to a long life and large success and all that kind of stuff. But without the marketing side of things, and that's the thing that I have no clue how to do, that I'm continuing to fail at on Signal Leaf, is the marketing side of things. I mean, I can write code and I can do cool stuff with the UI and I can make it easy to use, but I mean, I haven't even prioritized that into my time, let alone figure out how to actually do the marketing side of things. I mean, I've got this document that I was handed. You know, remember back in January, February, I was working with a content strategy person up in Canada, and she was taking that copywriter course from Joanna Wiebe from Copy Hackers. And as part of that course, she did a complete market analysis for me on Signal Leaf, and including a site analysis and user interviews and all that kind of stuff to give me the direction that I need to head. And I've been sitting on this document forever. And the interesting thing is, when I started reading it last week, all of the conclusions that she came to were exactly the same kinds of things that you and me and Josh have been talking about. I mean, almost to the letter, the same things that we've been talking about. And then she went on to expand on that with actual user interviews and feedback from potential customers, and one of the user testing sites that she went through and had people look at Signal Leaf. And so I've got this goldmine 30-page document of information that I don't know how to use. I mean, there are a few things in there like, okay, put together a video on the home page and use this kind of language in the home page. I can kind of fumble my way through that stuff, but I'm sitting here looking at this document going, holy cow, this is amazing. I should do exactly all of this.
Right.
What should I actually do? Because it's all good information, good ideas, good strategy, good language to use, but I don't know how to translate that information into the actual product, into what people see on the homepage, into a good call to action with useful information and titles and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm looking at information that an actual marketing person would use to design and develop the full site that people are going to land on, and I don't even know marketing 101 level of knowledge to be able to use this information.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, one way to think about it is, by the way, the video was freezing for a minute, but I think it's okay now.
Yeah,
but,
you're kind of getting grainy and freezing on me as well a little.
Okay. What I was going to say was that I think part of it, like if you think about it, it's not that you're going to just know how to do this, right? It's if you had all the time in the world, if you're just focusing on Signal Leaf, you'd be able to figure this out, right? I mean, in trial and error, like there's no doubt. I mean, you've made huge progress on the things that you have tried to figure out in the marketing space. I think it comes back down to that priorities again. And then just the fact of being a solo founder for a company means that you have to do all the jobs, you have to wear all the hats.
Right.
So you don't have the, if you had someone, that could do the marketing for you, or like if you could assign different tasks and you could be focused.
Right.
Then I think things would be easier. That's the same problem that I think that I'm facing, probably Josh is facing as well. And part of it, I think, is just getting to the point where you have more of the freedom. So that's where I'd say like your focus really needs to be on the thing that's going to make you the most free, that's going to build you the most income, that will sort of be, for the most part, on autopilot, the most passive income that you can possibly achieve, because the more of that you have, the more that you can divert your efforts to like full efforts, for example, to Signal Leaf. And maybe that, maybe the solution is to dedicate a certain amount of time to the different projects, so that you're not trying to work on multiple projects at once. So maybe, like at this phase, obviously your consulting is ongoing, but you have the Watch Me Code and the Pragmatic Press screencast. Like you got to get the Pragmatic Press ones done. But maybe you can build up a certain amount of Watch Me Codes, and then that will give you the time. Then don't take on any other new projects, and just dedicate like 2 or 3 month period for Signal Leaf. That might be a way to kind of, to go from one to the other, but to keep the focus. Because I feel like if you had the focus, then you would be able to make something of it. But it feels like now that you're frustrated because you've got all these different opportunities and different things and so much stuff to work on, and you don't have enough time to work on any of them to the degree that you want to. So so that might be the way to cut things down without totally dropping them.
So one of the other suggestions that my dad had was to hire a marketing person. Whether it's somebody that I would pay hourly, which would probably be at least minimally hourly paid, but more likely somebody that would have actual equity investment in Signal Leaf. His thing. He's been an entrepreneur longer than I've been alive, so he's gone through this dozens of times. So it's always good when I have a chance to talk to him about this stuff. But he's busier than I am with all of the things that he's doing. So one of the things that he's really a stickler on in any kind of venture like this is never having an equal partnership. Whoever I bring on board, for whatever reason, whether or not whatever equity they have in the company, would never have more power or even equal power in determining the direction of the company. If I'm going to give somebody a percentage of the profits of Signal Leaf, it would be less than whatever percentage I own, so that I would always be the majority owner. I would never own less than 51% of Signal Leaf, so that I could always be, the overriding vote in whatever it is we're talking about doing. And so the idea of bringing someone in on an equity basis is interesting to me. But even at that, I think there's a lot that I would need to have in place first, and specifically time dedicated to actually working on Signal Leaf. It'd be kind of awful for me to expect somebody to come in over the next 30 days and put together marketing and do the social media outreach and the vlogging and help me redesign the homepage and all that, and then for me to just kind of go, yeah, that's awesome, sorry, I can't do anything to help you, or whatever. Sorry, I can't put together the homepage the way you outlined because I'm busy with these other things. I mean, if somebody could come in and do all of the Twitter stuff, the talking with customers about podcasting and helping other people with their podcasting needs, and just leave me to the technical side of things, which are mostly stable right now. A couple of things that are not quite right, but shouldn't take very much time for me to fix, then okay, that'd be fine. That'd be good. But I don't have the time right now to dedicate a lot of resources to completely overhauling things, and maybe it's going to take a complete overhaul of things in order to really move this forward. It's one of those, I don't know, maybe it would be getting somebody on board in the marketing side with equity would be the right thing to do, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know what would be needed on my end, what would be needed on their end. I don't even know where to start with that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough because like if you go, well, I mean, if you hire someone outright, then that's a big cost that it's going to be a risk that risks everything that your entire, not just Signal Leaf, because you can go into debt with that very easily.
Right. I mean, there's no way I could flat out hire someone. It would have to be. I mean, it would have to be like a subcontract thing to start with, just because that's all I could afford would just be a few hours here and there right now. But then it would have to be, in order to make it really worthwhile for that person, there would have to be some eventuality of equity in the company. And that,
and that's where maybe if you can find the right person that's interested in an equity position,
right?
I
mean, that's a dangerous thing in itself. I mean, how many thousands of people out there are trying to convince everybody and their brother that they have the greatest idea in the world if you would just work on equity for a while. I mean, that's every idiot with an idea right now trying to convince people to work on equity. And I guess I do have somewhat of an advantage because I have an actual working product with actual paying customers.
Right.
So I do have somewhat of an advantage there, but it's still, it starts to sound like the good idea man coming around with, spend your time and money on this and don't assume any of the risk myself.
Yeah, that's See, I don't know. I've always been kind of against that kind of working, just because it's so hard to find someone that's actually going to follow through. I mean, most likely you hire someone that they're working in equity and then they don't have the passion, or they if they haven't done something for themselves, they haven't built their own business, or then there's a real good chance that they're not going to be able to function in yours.
Right. But, so the other thing that we talked about in along the ideas of equity is to get actual investors involved. Somebody that preferably would have a direct interest in the success of Signal Leaf, whatever that interest might be, however related their existing income and industry might be, but to get investment from them on a monetary basis, get cash from them so that I could hire someone to do the marketing side of things. So instead of giving equity to the marketing person, get cash from investors and give them the equity in the company, and then hire the marketing person to kind of decouple the moving pieces in the system there, so that you have cash from one source, marketing effort from a source that's being paid for with the cash, which, in my mind makes a little more sense. It goes down a path of more complication in terms of the business side of things, the legalities of hiring people and all that kind of stuff than I've ever dealt with, which makes it scary for me to deal with. But that's something.
I can talk from experience a little bit on that side. The biggest trouble that you'll have going down that road is what investors mostly want to know is what differentiates your product. Like, what is your and
Right.
why is it that someone can't come along and duplicate it? And really, for podcast hosting, it would be pretty dang hard to come up with a differentiator.
Yeah.
The only thing like that would be possible, like if you combine the idea for our call recorder,
Right.
with it, and then like it was like not only do we host your podcast, but like this
Give
software
you all the
basically.
tools for it.
Yeah, then that could be like the one-stop shop. But aside from that, just for plain podcast hosting, even however you spin it on the marketing side of being the personal podcast hosting solution, or
Right.
it's not going to be something that an investor is probably likely to think that they're going to that's going to be unique enough that someone can't duplicate.
Right.
So that makes that tough. But I guess one thing to think about too is like where do you see it in the long run? Like the path you're going now, the trajectory that you're on. Well, there's two ways to look at it too. One is where are you now compared to where you were, let's say, a year ago, and then looking forward, probably looking forward years into the future. Where does this trajectory take you?
Right.
Because the thing is, like, I mean, I don't know, from what I know about where you were a year ago and where you are now, when you look at it that way, you've made a huge amount of progress on SignalLeaf, on WatchMeCode, on
Right.
that's a positive. As long as you see that continuing to increase, I mean, within like let's say a 2-year time frame is a pretty big time frame,
Mm-hmm.
then really there might not be too much to worry about at this point, because you're building the biggest thing that I think that I try to look for is the things that I'm working on, are they building assets for the future or not, or am I treading water? Like that's why like a lot of the times working the regular job or doing consulting is like treading water, because you're basically making money to pay your bills.
Right.
Unless you're making a very high fee, in which case you're banking a lot of money, so you're like actually progressing yourself. But a lot of times you're stuck in this treading water phase. So I guess that's the real thing as I'd look at it is, are you treading water, or are you building assets for the future, and what is the trajectory? Like where will you be in 2 years? Because if you just stay on the same trajectory and in 2 years you're going to be where you need to be, then it's just a matter of grinning and bearing it and making it and hoping for a bigger break to shorten that time span. But
Right. I mean, at this point, I don't even know what it looks like in 2 years. I don't have
kind
enough.
of think about it. I mean, do you see the potential growth in WatchMeCode and SignalLeaf in that time?
I had expected to see more significant growth in WatchMeCode than I have seen.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm losing subscribers right now has me very worried about WatchMeCode and wondering if I'm going to do it past the end of the year. I mean, in one respect, it becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not doing so well, so I'm not going to put so much effort into it, which makes it do worse, which makes me do less for it. I mean, there's that aspect of it. I mean, the whole idea of the subscription service was a last-ditch effort for me, anyways. This is like, okay,
I see. Yeah.
I see the potential for this. I mean, remember episode 4 of this podcast was me basically saying I'm done screencasting, and
Yeah,
you guys
that's true.
convincing me otherwise. And here I am making $2,500 a month off of WatchMeCode right now, but it's declining. It went up to $2,500 a month after that first month, and now it's in a mild decline. And if this is a seasonal thing, okay, that's fine. I'll get through it. I'll keep
Right.
pushing forward. I'm not giving up right now. I'm definitely pushing through at least until the end of the year and giving it my all at that to see if this is going to be something that will work out long term. But SignalLeaf has more potential for more passive income that is not as active as Watch Me Code. Consulting is definitely trading time for money. There's no question about that. I could make quite a bit of money doing consulting. I have made quite a bit of money doing consulting. You know, I've had contracts where I would make $20,000 a month in consulting. I know how to do that. Yeah. That's trading time for money is not a big deal. I can always fall back to that. I've actually been really tempted to do that with my current client because I know how much work they actually need done, and I could very easily make, you know, $10,000 or $15,000 a month just doing that, and not be super happy because I wouldn't be building products and services, but at the same time be super happy that I was making 15 grand a month. So there's that. Then there's Watch Me Code, which is kind of halfway in between trading time for money and products and services. The thing with Watch Me Code is that it's a content creation system. I have to continuously be creating new content in order to continuously grow and maintain the subscriber base for Watch Me Code. At some point in time, the content goes stale. People stop watching the older episodes. They are there for the newer episodes. You know, I try to build foundations in episodes that I'm doing these days so that I can build upon those in the for the future and be able to give people a place to start and a place to go. But it takes a lot of work to build content and constantly create content. So it's, yeah, on the one hand, it doesn't take me that much time and effort to build these short screencasts in comparison to something like consulting. So I am doing pretty well from that perspective, but it still takes, overall, it takes a lot of time and effort to plan and build and produce these screencasts compared to something like Signal being really, truly passive income if I can reach that breaking point and get over that hump. Whereas with Signal, it's other people creating the content and using the service and all those things, and me making it possible for them to do that.
I think there's still one thing though with the Watch Me Code that is a little bit more different than consulting, which is that it does scale up for the same amount of work. So like as a consultant, I mean, maybe you'll bill at like a couple $100 an hour, but it'll never go above like, let's say $300 or $400 an hour. You're never going to bill $1,000 an hour for your time. But as a Watch Me Code, as producing screencasts, right now you might be making $20 an hour.
Yeah, I should calculate that because it's not much.
But the same amount of work could eventually be worth several $1,000s an hour. You see what I'm saying? Like because based on the customers. So that has so as long as the trajectory is going up, and I know it's not now, but that might be the seasonal. I mean, to give you I don't know, Josh says July is the worst, but around this time, and I haven't sold a copy of my course for like almost a week now, which is kind of crazy. But so that could be a factor, but that's one thing to consider with that too, why that it may become, even though it'll never be totally passive, it may essentially be like it is more scalable than working a regular job or consulting.
So that's the gist of all of it is, what am I doing? Where am I going? What is my trajectory in all of this? I don't know, and that's part of the problem. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis right now. I don't have any good long-term plans, any good medium-length plans, or short-term plans. I'm kind of just heads down, day-to-day, figuring out, okay, what do I need to do just to stay afloat right now? And most of that right now is the contract work and the stuff for pragmatic programmers, the screencast for them, and then trying to let the other things sit to the side and just keep them afloat I mean, it's obvious to me that Signal Leaf could be a viable business because I have paying customers that are happy with the service. So I don't think it's a question of whether or not it's a viable business, even though a lot of the comments that I get on my blog are, this isn't a viable business, you should find something valuable to do with your time. Like, whatever. All right. You tell that to my paying customers, thanks. But even if Signal Leaf is not a long-term thing, I keep going back to this thought of, okay, I can try to find something else, which, when am I going to find time for that, first of all? I've already got Signal Leaf, so let's at least ride this out as long as I can. And even if I do eventually find something else, the things that I'm learning from Signal Leaf are things that I'm going to have to learn for anything else anyways. So it's on some level a question of, will Signal Leaf be a viable product and service? I'm pretty sure it is. I don't really have any doubt about that. Not too much anyways. The real question is whether or not it's the right service for me to be pursuing long term. And if there is something else that would better fit my skill sets, my passions, my whatever it is, rather than podcast hosting. And those are the kind of questions I'm asking right now is, all right, if I'm going to do this, these are the things that I need to do from a marketing perspective, and getting help with all that, getting investment, getting priorities, time, those kinds of questions are somewhat easier for me to answer once I have the decision that, okay, this really is the direction that I want to head. This really is a service that I want to pursue long term and actually have as a major part, or if not all of the majority of my income and my time and effort. I'm feeling overwhelmed at this point with everything that I have going on, feeling like that I need to give up something soon, not just, okay, once I get some things done, but really plan, these are the things I'm going to complete and put aside so that I can have this focus and be able to move forward faster with whatever it is that I'm choosing to focus on.
Right. No, that makes sense. It seems to me like you're trapped between the two mindsets of one, the like CEO mode of trying to decide the plan for the businesses, and then the worker mode of trying to do the work. Right. And like you said, you don't have goals, so maybe what you really need to do is take like some time, like a week or maybe just a couple of days, and just clearly go into the CEO mode and just think about exactly what you need to plan out, what needs to be done, like kind of set the direction and the tasks that need to be done, and then give yourself enough work for like 3 months. Like plan out your schedule for the next quarter, essentially. What major projects are you going to do on Signal Leaf? What major projects are you going to do on Watch Me Code? Or what direction are you going to take the things? And then don't go back into CEO mode for like 3 months. Like just work, just do, and then go back and evaluate the results, because that constant switching back and forth, I think, it's discouraging, and then it also makes it so you can't get the work done, because you sit down and you're like, man, is this actually important? Is this the actual priority? And then so that's why I think if you set aside a couple of days, instead of, you're kind of drawing it out over time, like every day you're questioning your path, and every day you're questioning which way you should go. If you just take 2 days or so and do all the questioning up front and say, okay, I'm just going to make these decisions. I'm going to set my ship to sail, heading northeast, by such and such degrees, and we're going to sail for 3 hours or whatever, 3 months, and this is the course we're taking. Then it's not a finality. It's just a 3 month period of time. So you set the course, you start working on that plan for the 3-month period of time, and then you go back and you evaluate it. And the worst case scenario, you've lost 3 months.
Right.
But best case scenario, you've done a lot more work than you would have gotten done in that period of time, and you can course adjust there, or decide that it wasn't worth going down this path. So.
Right.
But
I like that idea. I like that. I mean, I'm feeling like at this point that I need that can't even get this thought out of my head. I'm the kind of person that when I get overwhelmed, I want somebody to tell me what to do.
Yeah. Yep.
And the idea that you're presenting here is that I should step back out of the worker mode and be the guy that tells me what to do. Figure it out, make the decisions, get out of worker mode.
And then you'll have your plan. I have to do the same. I feel the same way. I have to do the same exact thing, because if someone tells me what to do, I have no idea how to.
Gives me the constraints in which to do things like that. I think that's why I did so well with consulting, and why I'm doing so with my current consulting gig. It's somebody gives me a direction to run, a target to hit, a goal to accomplish, and they give me the constraints in which to accomplish those things. And whenever I get overwhelmed and frustrated and feel like there's too many decisions to make, I can always go back to the client, the person who is making the business decisions, and say, okay, these are, here's what's going on. These are the things in front of me. Help me, show me the priorities, give me the constraints, give me the whatever it is, tell me what to do to an extent, so that I can chop away all these things and be able to focus again. And I've never really been good at doing that myself, and I need to get good at that. I need to step out of worker bee mode and step into queen bee mode to set the goals and directions and be able to say, okay, these are the things that I'm going to do for the next period of time. And some of that will be in working with my client to say, okay, what are the things that you need done and how much time am I going to have for this? But a lot of it is going to be me and figuring out, watch me code, the current state of that, where everything is, the pragmatic programmer screencasts, what I need to do to get those done. And I have my editor for pragmatic programmers that I can call up and we can talk about that and set its priority within. He's basically gonna ask me what my priority is on it, but I need to get him involved so that he knows what I'm thinking and how much time I'm going to be spending on it and when it's going to happen and all that.
And plan it all out and have it
right.
That's it. It's funny. It's not. It's don't think it's a deficiency in yourself, because everyone has this problem. Like everyone wants freedom. But the most scariest thing to a human being is freedom. Like
it's
a blank
complete,
page.
True, total freedom.
Yeah. It's the worst possible thing, the worst possible torture. Everyone, we operate so much better as slaves than we do as our own masters, which is scary. Freedom has a huge. I'm not saying that we should all seek to be slaves, but there's a huge price for freedom, which is the that's scary. Like no one can tell you what to do.
Right.
Yeah. So you got to step in and become that person who basically becomes your own taskmaster. One of the most successful periods I had was when I did the Pluralsight videos, like last year, and I did 30 courses, and that's what I kind of did at the beginning of the year. As I said, okay, I chart out my entire year. And I said, look, here's what's going to happen this year. You're going to do 30 Pluralsight courses. This is what you're going to do. And I basically just put my head down and just ignored everything else and just started working on that and didn't let anything distract me. And that was super. But I had to do it. And but then still, it's like freedom is always going to be even now I'm struggling against this. Like, I don't know what to do because I'm completely free. And what is I'm going to eventually have to do the exact same thing I'm advising you, which is basically to go set a course and then be my own master. But yeah, it's definitely the scariest thing. I think that's it, and that's, I think people are not prepared for freedom. No one is.
Very much so. I mean, I can sit down and look at a blank screen knowing I have to write some code, and that is a pretty dang scary thing in and of itself sometimes. I face that problem with, you know, the empty project on a pretty regular basis. Yeah. And I'm pretty good at dealing with the empty project because I know once I start writing some code, it doesn't matter where I start. Just start with something. Because once I start writing some code, it will very quickly become obvious what I need in order to get that code actually working. Like, okay, I'm going to go do this piece over here. Oh, well, in order to do that piece, you know, now that I've started doing it, I see that I actually need these things in place. Well, let me go do those things. Oh, well, now that I'm doing this, I see that I need these things. Okay, well, here's the actual starting point that I should have been at. But I wouldn't have come to that conclusion without starting somewhere. And so I've kind of tried to take that same approach with all of these other things. Well, in order to get to where I want to be, to this end goal, well, I need to start. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. I'm just going to start working. I'm going to start putting these things in place. But the thing that I'm missing is the goal. I mean, I don't know where I'm heading. I don't know why I'm starting these things. And so I've started all these things, and I've said, oh, well, I should really do this instead because I need it. And I get down to that thing, and I'm kind of going, okay, great, I'm doing this now, and why am I doing this? You know, what am I really heading toward? You know, when I have a blank screen for code, I have a project that I'm working on. I have a goal in mind for some functionality that needs to be in place, and so it's easier for me to deal with that, the big empty unknown. But I haven't sat down to do that with all these different products and services that I'm involved in, and I really do need to think that I need to get rid of some of these. I need to simplify my work situation so that I'm not constantly switching back and forth between things.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's. I mean, take that time, plan it out, and then you'll figure it out. I mean, it might turn out that you need to drop a thing. It might turn out that you drop a thing for 3 months and you only work on certain, you know, you realize that you're going to work. You will have time because once you have set it in your mind that you're going to work on a specific thing, that you're specifically delaying working on a thing, then it's no longer that burden. As like if you said, okay, I'm not going to touch Signal Leaf for the next 3 months. I'm going to focus on these other things that are, but you've made the conscious decision to do it. Then your mind can be at ease. But as long as you're doing this, you could be doing the same thing, but you haven't made the conscious decision that you're putting Signal Leaf on the back burner for a specific reason, for a specific point of time, and now it's eating at you.
Right.
So.
Okay, I like that idea.
Cool.
It's definitely different for me. It's not something I've ever really done myself. I've always had somebody else around to do that for me.
Right. Yep.
So it's new, it's difficult, it's scary, but it's definitely something that I need to do.
Yeah. I think that's the key is to. And I'm still learning it myself too. It's like it's funny too. Whenever someone asks me to write a blog post or article, I'm like, okay, yes, but you tell me what the title is.
Right.
If you tell me the title, man, I can definitely write whatever the title is. I can write on it.
Right.
But if I have to come up with the title, no, you just write whatever you want. Like, I'll give you 3 choices.
Yeah. Right. Which I'm in that situation with some articles that I owe to people. And here comes my son. Say hi. Hi. You want some cocoa milk? Okay, give me a couple minutes, sweetie. Can you shut my door for me? Thank you. All right.
Sounds like you got to get running here. So.
Yeah, unfortunately I do, which is kind of taking up all of our week with me instead of being able to talk to you. And I'm going to blame it all on Josh, and here's my daughter. I'm going to blame it all on Josh since Josh is still nowhere to be found and not giving me the time that I needed this week.
That's all right.
Thanks, Josh.
Well, we'll pick up next week and stuff. The only thing I had going on this week is I just ticked off a lot of people by telling them that they're not individual thinkers.
So. That's interesting.
Dare I say that scientists could be wrong? You would be amazed by the ire from telling people that scientists might be wrong.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
All right. Well, I guess I better get going.
All right.
All right.
Yep.
See ya.
All right. See ya.
Wanna start a business, but you just know how to code. Listen to John, Josh, and Derick as we figure it out. We are the EntreProgrammers, and we'll teach you straight up to be developers.